We're here.
Earth calling Ryan.
We're
calling
here.
Ryan.
Hi, Scott.
How are we? Welcome to the Summer CX seminar with myself, Rich Knight, and Ryan Huxborn. We also have the absolute pleasure of being joined today by Scott Ashman from Longleat. Good afternoon, Scott. How are you?
Good afternoon. Very well. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me.
No, not
it's great to have you, Scott. It makes a change from warbling with the old fella.
Well, cheeky. I'm not quite sure who is older, to be perfectly honest. I think it might be you.
It probably is. Deceptive.
So we've got on an hour today to actually start having a warble, and we've got several guests who are going to be joining us through the medium of recorded interview. So for those who are joining us today live, thank you very much for putting some time in the diary to come along. But I believe, Ryan, we're also recording this very event, are we not?
We are. We've had lots of interest, but it being a Friday afternoon, I think most people are out lunching and thinking about going home for the weekend. So we're going to share it across the medium of video as well, so people can get the opportunity to hear from our experts.
Fantastic. We've got Laura who's arrived. Hello, Laura. Nice to see you. Thank you very much.
Hi, Laura. How are you?
Time.
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
Good.
Fantastic. So it's been a really interesting time over the last year, and myself and Ryan have been warbling, as we like to call it, which is generally talking, but in the West Country it's a good old warble. So we've been warbling over the last months, over a year now, about what's going on from a customer experience point of view and the importance of keeping the focus going. So back at the start of the year, we decided that actually we could do with pausing and thinking about everything that's been going on. And of course, the change has been continuing as we've been going through this whole pandemic situation. And we thought it was a good point in the summer. And I know it's now technically not summer because we're in, June, and therefore it's bound to rain, isn't it? So therefore, yeah, always the way. So we thought we'd pause and actually have a think about where we've been, what we've learned, and where we're going to. Isn't that right, Mr. Huxtable?
It is. Thanks, Rich. So yeah, today we've got a really exciting lineup of experts who are going to talk to us about how they're looking after their customers, their staff, and what they're doing to really get ready for whenever the shackles finally come off and we come out of all of the restrictions that we've been in over the last few months and years. So today I'm delighted to say that we're going to watch a video that I pre-recorded with Laura Mounce, who's the operations director from Strawberry Fields Lifton Farm Shop. Now, Lifton Farm Shop won Farm Shop of the Year last year nationally in the UK, and the Farmer Award. So those guys are amazing at what they do. So listening to Laura, I promise you, will be a delight when she shares her top tips. We're then delighted, as Rich has already mentioned, to be joined by Scott, and Scott's going to give us what are you going to talk to us about, Scott? You're going to talk to us about Longleat, aren't you, and what you guys are up to?
Yeah, definitely. It's a shame it's not as the weather's not as beautiful as my background today. So yeah, everything that we've faced in the past 12 months and what we've learned, and how we envision moving forward as a business, and obviously how we've adapted for like you said, our staff as well as our guests, to ensure we're still delivering those memorable experiences when families do come to visit us.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Scott. And then we've got the inimitable Mr. Robin Barker, who I know, Rich, you recorded a bit of a piece with him earlier in the week.
Robin runs, works within the tourism sector, and he has been in there for a number of years, and he currently also runs the Southwest Tourism Awards as well as the beautiful South Tourism Awards as well. So it's great to be able to get an overall view of the sector from Robin. So we'll be hearing from him later on. Again, that was pre-recorded, but gives us an idea of what's been going on from his point of view. And I think the great thing as well from all of these conversations we've having, clearly a focus from a tourism point of view and attractions and the summer going forward, but there's lots and lots of key tips that we're going to be talking about that can be taken by any industry, any sector, and actually put in place, because we know that the tourism, hospitality, attraction sector do it really well. and there's some great learnings for all the other sectors out there around customer experience and how to turn that into loyal customers, great new customers, and being able to refer out for other people to come into any type of business. So we're really excited to be able to do this today, and hope that other sectors will listen as well and see what they can learn. That would be fantastic.
Well, okay, great. Well, without further ado, I think we're now going to listen to what Laura from Strawberry Fields Lifton has to tell us about how they are planning, how they've looked after and how they're planning to look after their customers. Laura, welcome. Tell our listeners and viewers what it's been like for you at Strawberry Fields in the last sort of 15, 18 months.
I can only really describe it as sort of a roller coaster, really, as I'm sure every business has experienced over the last 18 months. We kind of, when something's happened, and quite often it's very short notice and we've had to adapt to something, we kind of describe it as like another loop in the roller coaster that we're kind of riding. So it's been okay. You know, we've had to, businesses have had no choice, you know, with everything that's happened. We've had to just embrace it and, you know, make the best of what we can with it, really. So
how have you looked after your customers? I know that's incredibly important to you and the family.
Yeah, hugely important. I mean, if it wasn't for customers, we wouldn't be here, would we? So, you know, I think, you know, the customer to us is always up there on a pedestal, and, you know, we try and embed that message and that value with our team as well. So I suppose the last 18 months we've just, adaptation is the biggest thing, and the biggest key thing that we've done, really. When we went into the first lockdown back in March last year, we knew our footfall literally went from being, you know, quite good. We were doing well. We just put on extension and things were going well. We just were getting to the point where our systems were in place and we were kind of running quite smoothly. And then coronavirus hit and our footfall just dropped completely to a very scary level that we've never ever experienced before. So it was almost like an internal panic set in then, really. You know, obviously we can't show that to our team and everything, but we were worried. You know, footfall was awful. We had issues with fresh things going out of date, whereas before the issue is keeping fresh on the shelf, you know, that we make. So we knew that we had to find another way to get our products, which we know people wanted, but get our products to their doors. So we set up an online shop in about 4 days. It was a lot of very long hours into the night, taking photos, setting it up, and we launched an online shop, and that actually saved us pretty much, you know. So I think that quick kind of, right, we know we've got to find another way to reach our customers was key to us keeping our team and keeping cash coming in, basically. So yeah, that's what we did. We set up an online shop in about 4 days, and it flew, and we had lots of orders come in, and then we've just adapted that really over time. We were taking orders like through phone and email and things, but that, you know, it just become unmanageable. So then we went on to online orders and things, and we've just, you know, made the process easier as we've gone along, really.
What was really interesting listening to you, Laura, was, you know, you talked about your people and the importance of your people and keeping them on board, and how important it was to keep your people, and therefore you had to make changes in order to do that. Would you say that, you know, this setting up the online shop and sort of this roller coaster you described a little bit earlier on, was that your biggest challenge?
I think probably yes, really. I think communication is key, isn't it, in any business? And we're very aware of communication in this business, in terms of us communicating our ideas, whether they might be a bit crazy, to the team, and just trying to keep everybody in the loop as well. So I suppose it was that we had to adapt to keep going, to keep afloat. And we did do that, but also comes with that kind of that issue of communication, because things were happening so fast, literally so fast. Whereas, you know, we're at the minute, we're planning events going through to October, but, you know, online shop, I'm saying, right, well, not tomorrow, but the next day, we're getting that open. But how we're going to actually operationally work that, I don't know yet, but I'm going to work that out in my head tomorrow, ready for the next day. So it was all very, very fast. And I think, you know, for the team, you know, it was hard for them to, you know, we were communicating to them, but it was all so fast, and they had to adapt. But they were great. They were absolutely great. And, you know, we wouldn't be without any one of them. You know, they really rode the roller coaster with us, definitely.
Are you looking forward to the summer? Are you excited about the summer? Have you got special plans for the summer? Yeah,
so we've thought a lot about the summer. Obviously, with the restaurant closed, we've had a bit more kind of thinking time to think about the year ahead and what we think is going to work best for us. And we've kind of really stripped what we're going to do back to the basics, really. So, for example, pick your own strawberries. Last year went so well. It's a really simple experience. Probably Adam won't say that because he's got to grow them, but it's a kind of back to basics experience, really, for people. I think it's an outdoor activity. So what we've done this year is we've extended the season. We used to just have like a 5-week pick your own season. But what we found is so many people into the summer holidays are wanting still to pick strawberries. So we've invested quite heavily into undercover strawberries this year, so we can extend the season. So in terms of like the events and things that we're doing, we're just trying to keep it niche to us, really, and like trying to take our roots, really, and make an event out of that. So like pick your own, you know, it is big for us, and it drives footfall to the shop. So it has a knock-on effect in the shop and the restaurant. So that works really well. So we're doing strawberries, we're doing sunflowers in September. We're also doing a maze this year. So we've planned out a maze all to do with green energy, because we produce 100% of our own energy here on site. So we've kind of themed it around Pi Power. So yeah, it just really creating simple outdoor experiences that people can come and enjoy, which then obviously has a really good knock-on effect in terms of footfall for the shop and the restaurant.
You know, are you feeling confident, and what tip would you give?
Yeah, I think we're in for a busy summer. I think looking at, you know, holiday cottages, camping parks and all of that, they are full to the brim. So, you know, I think we are in for a very, very busy summer, which is great. There is obviously, and I'm sure in everybody's mind, there's that sort of doubt or uncertainty, because we don't actually know what's going to happen come like winter time. I mean, hopefully when we get into June, government might open things up more, and these restrictions, you know, will lift again. But there's a lot of uncertainty out there, definitely. But it's out of our hands. So as long as we're doing our bit, and as long as we're, you know, keeping our team and customers safe, then I think we can't do any more than that. And in terms of a top tip, I think, I mean, when you're in like a pandemic like we've been in, I think adapting, but adapting quickly. So you've got to get in there first. So adapting quickly, work hard to get whatever you need to do to keep customers coming to you in whatever way that might be. And I suppose now, I mean, our main focus now throughout the summer is to look after our customers.
Oh, some great tips from Laura there, and I've known I've known the family at Lifton for a number of years, and one of the things that always strikes me is how hard they work. And you know, the key things there that she talked about, her top tip about adapt, you know, work hard, think about how you are first out of the traps with whatever you're doing to keep your customers coming back. I think it's just so crucial. And those businesses that we've talked about it, Rich, a lot, haven't we, over the summer, over the last 18 months, but continue through the summer, that, you know, the reality of those businesses that pivot quickly, and I'm sure Scott will share with us in a minute what they've done at Longleat, but in truth, you know, you have to be adaptable and dynamic in this current situation. What was really remiss of me to say at the start, and we weren't sure who was going to join us live today, but it's great to have Laura Campbell with us, and definitely come to you to get your view from certainly, you know, a beautiful place like Dartmouth, and how you guys are trying to adapt to be able to react to customer trends. I was in Dartmouth a couple of weeks ago, and it was rammed, and it was I've never seen quite so many people in Dartmouth, so it was but it was still a lovely experience.
Our job is done.
Okay, great. So top tips there from Laura at Lifton, and if you're heading down the A30 to Cornwall and you've not managed to get into Lifton Strawberry Fields, I highly recommend it. It is an amazing farm shop that is a must visit. But Rich, I'm going to hand back to you you and Scott to talk to us about what's going on at Longleat.
Well, yeah, it's an interesting one, actually. Just before we move specifically onto Longleat side of things, you know, Laura's experiences, how do those sort of echo from your point of view, Scott, when it comes down to obviously a slightly different approach, a slightly different offering, quite different. I don't know how many lions or scary animals Lifton has on their grounds. Strawberry is fairly terrifying. But yeah, similarities, how does that fit? Does it resonate with you in terms of, you know, your experiences over the last year?
It's quite interesting, actually, because I think when the customer is the forefront of your business, I think there's quite a lot of similarities, regardless in the size of your business, whether it's a farm shop, which is their primary customer is strawberry picking, or, you know, a safari park with, you know, up to 1,500 staff in their peak summer. You know, it's quite interesting listening to Laura, and, you know, I made note actually of two main quotes that she mentioned, was that strip it back to basics and it's out of our hands. And, you know, I think the strip it back to basics is something that we've actually done at Longleat this year, because with the first lockdown last year and us obviously slowly being able to reopen the business in some formality, we've had to keep some of the areas of the park closed, unfortunately, and some of the main areas of the park, and operate in some of like the train and the jungle cruise at 50% capacity has, you know, led to increased queue lines, etc. And, you know, we had to have a think of, you know, what have we got on the park that guests don't really take as much advantage of, that, you know, that we thought of and that we want them to do. So, you know, our amazing grounds and gardens that we have on the Longleat estate, you know, generally guests will only walk around there or have a picnic when the weather's beautiful, with no real purpose or knowing what it is that they're seeing and walking around. So, you know, this year we have launched our Tales of the Garden event, where we've had some incredible artists from the local areas install some, you know, quite unique exhibitions which show off our histories of the grounds and gardens, with a lot of informational boarding and interp placed around. And we've actually seen a lot of guests flock over to this area because, you know, they're actually interested of, well, we've come to see the animals, but what is Longleat? Who are the family, and what is the estate part of? And, you know, for me, it's one of probably the better events that I've actually seen that we do here, you know, aside obviously from the balloon sky safari and things like that, for us to actually use what we've got on site to, you know, encourage guests to, you know, move away from, you know, the hustle and bustle of the queues and in our busier areas to experience what the wider park actually has to offer. And, you know, what Laura also mentioned about, you know, out of our hands, I think, you know, I've worked in leisure since I was 16. I've worked in theme parks, water parks, and now, you know, a safari park. And I think we all work in leisure for a reason, that no day is the same. And when she's mentioned out of our hands, you know, we can be as proactive as we could possibly be with procedures and policies and training, but, you know, on a daily basis, we're having to react to staff needs, customer needs, incidents, you know, and accidents that should happen, on a daily basis. And I think the pandemic, you know, we could put, unfortunately, into one of those categories that we've had to react to so many times. And when we've come to reopen in the park, we think we've got X deadline to meet, but it's actually pushed forward by 2 weeks. So we're having to react again then and get everything put in place. Or, you know, we were gearing up to, with the latest restrictions hopefully being eased, but, you know, obviously that changed a little bit. So, you know, it refocuses us, and as much as we were being proactive in that case, we've had to react again and slightly adapt again. You know, adapt being the key word of 2020, 2021, I think. And, you know, I think it shows what people are capable of, you know, from small businesses to big businesses. And, you know, it's been a real eye-opener, should we say.
And in terms of sort of adapting and changing what you're doing, what sort of impact has that had on the teams, on the staff? Because Laura mentioned, you know, teams there, and I know Robin sort of mentions staff shortly when we hear from Robin as well. How has that impacted you? Have you had problems, or has it been a good, you know, a good view of things from the team generally?
I think it's quite a unique situation again, because this pandemic isn't just affecting businesses, it's affecting people's personal lives at the same time. So instead of having to manage the team just on a work day-by-day situation, is actually, you know, staff members' mental health. You know, they've got a lot more going on at home, worrying about their friends, their family, when they're going to see those people next. And, you know, unfortunately, and, you know, it's the same for everyone. It's the same for all of us, I'm sure, as well. I've been in the same situation. So, you know, I was furloughed for the whole of summer last year. It's quite a unique thing for me, I guess, to our busiest time of the year to not be working. So my wife was working from home. She had great difficulties with me being at home, I'm sure. But as soon as I came back, you know, it was quite key for me to get in contact with the staff straight away, just to give them any update that I was having. Even if it was on a daily basis, you know, more information, the better for these guys. And when they returned to site, we made sure that we had quite large team briefings as to, this is how the business is going to operate now, this is the plan moving forward. And, you know, we operate quite an open forum in Longleat anyway. You know, you'll see all the executive team, the directors, myself as the managers, we're always at the front line with the staff, you know, on a daily basis. And I think by having that working relationship prior to this pandemic, it meant it was a little bit easier to handle moving forward as well, because they were quite open and honest with you. And, you know, they're the ones that deal with the guests on a frontline basis, and any feedback that we receive from the team, you know, likewise with the guests, you know, we would always consider and, you know, implement. And, you know, I think from a business point of view, a tip would be, regardless of your side, don't be afraid to change on a daily basis if you have to, whether that's for the guests' experience or for the staff, because at the end of the day, you know, they marry, and without great team, you won't get the guests coming back, and without the guests enjoying yourself, you won't be able to employ a team as such. So yeah, it's, you know, a circle of you know, customer experience at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. And myself and Ryan have warbled a lot about that, and I think Ryan's actually going to make a point now, and I shall hand over to him.
Yeah, I was just going to ask a question. It's really interesting listening to you, Scott, talking about what you picked up from Laura, and this, you know, this point that she was making around back to basics and adapting quickly. And the reflection I had there was, you know, in an environment, in a farm shop environment where you've got a restaurant and cafes, you know, perhaps you can do that with maybe 50 staff on site. Longleat, iconic location, world famous, world renowned. People's expectations of the visit to Longleat will probably be, you know, very, very high. It struck me when you said, you know, we've had to do that on a daily basis. We've had to change things for guests, for team members as well. How easy is that? Because if you guys can, you know, if we look at Longleat as a bit of a super tanker that you've got to try and turn, you know, quite quickly to avoid, you know, whatever issue you're facing, you know, how quickly have you been able to adapt on a daily basis, and what kind of have you got any examples of how you've done that?
Yeah, I think, I don't like to use the word buy-in, but I think if you have the trust and reliability of your team on board, adaptability could happen overnight. You know, you explain what you're going to do in the evening, for example, or, you know, we have morning briefs every single morning that the park opens. And if we need to make any changes to the operational times, or, you know, the structure of the day, or, you know, just any like little information like that, we can do that at 9 o'clock in the morning. And we know that that information is going to be cascaded out by 9:15 the same morning, and that will be, you know, changed and adapted. And I think that comes from, you know, the working relationship. You know, there's examples as long as my arm, I think, about how much we've had to change, you know, over the season. And, you know, I think one of the biggest things that we've had to do, we've noticed, even though we've been running at a very reduced capacity, you know, I'd say we've probably been running at about 40-50% for the most of last year and going into this year, which is a massive impact on us as a business. But because we're having to run most of our attractions, so the jungle cruise, the railway and things like that, at half capacity, and with social distancing in place, it's elongated our queue lines to make it look like we're at 100% capacity and we're spilling over. So we've actually tried to structure the day for the guests. We try to take that stress out of their hands. So if you were to book a ticket to visit Longleat, you would select the date that you want to visit, and then you'd actually book a safari drive-through time slot. So say, for example, we operate those time slots 10 till 12, 12 till 2, and 2 till 4, with 4 o'clock being the last entry into the safari park. And, you know, all our staff, you know, whether that's on social media or emails, you know, they know the tips and tricks of the park. So if they're questioned, you know, we would generally say, you know, if you're booked in to do the safari park in that 2 till 4 time slot, come to the park at 9:45 in the morning, where you'll be let down and parked up to enjoy all of the footfall areas of the park, like we like to call it. So Animal Adventure, the Jungle Cruise, Koala Creek, the Railway, Family Farmyard, and all of the children attractions, the Adventure Castle. And then by the time you've generally done that, it's lunchtime. So you may spend about an hour enjoying your lunch, deciding where to eat first from all of our on-site restaurants, and then you know, having that free roam then to go to the safari park from any time, say 2 o'clock onwards. And then generally that would take them about an hour and a half to 2 hours, because it is free roaming in there. Like I mentioned before the call, we don't shut the gates on any cars in there. I'm sure people would pay for that experience, but it's not one that we do openly offer. And then after the safari park, you know, they would generally leave to go home, or pop down, grab a coffee before their trips home as well. So, you know, we've tried to, because we saw at peaks at the main park when it was lunchtime, it's getting quite overcrowded, and indirectly obviously had a massive impact on our customer experience, because the queues seem bigger, and you know, it's taking slightly longer because we've gone completely cashless as well on site. So yeah, it was just trying to, like you said, expectations of Longleat are very high at the best of times. And I think because people are wanting to spend their money within the UK at the moment, and people may have unfortunately lost their jobs or still be on furlough, that money means more now than ever before. So, you know, we're not having to, but we feel that we want to be delivering more for the money that the guests are paying when they are entering the park.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. So there's that, you know, that agility, that changing, and then ensuring that communication and of expectations is coming through. I mean, we know it across any organization, any business, that teams, particularly staff, are looking for what is expected of them. So as soon as those things start to change, you've got to make sure you're communicating that again. And it sounds like that's something that you've been doing on a regular basis there, Scott. But, you know, across any sector, any business sector, when it comes down to the customer experience, customers are only going to have a great experience when this teams know what's expected of them. It's when those lines start getting blurred that the experience doesn't become consistent, and then people are getting that difference. And it's slightly different when you're going to a general geography, like say Dartmouth. You know, you've got different people running different businesses. Look, Laura, is that something that you've seen, the change in the offerings that have been going on in your particular area?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's some sort of Darwinism, isn't it? That survival is about responsiveness to change. And it's, you know, we've seen businesses close, but we've also seen businesses open, but we've seen a lot of businesses, you know, diversify and change, and, you know, pivot was the buzzword of last year. sort of things like, you know, sort of a hotel restaurant that sort of opened a pop-up in the Royal Avenue Gardens, absolutely phenomenal. I know I, for one, all of a sudden our meetings, when we could meet outside, were down there. We had coffee, and you know, it fulfilled a need. It was absolutely brilliant. We had collaboration from all our local authorities, South Hams and Dartmouth Town Councils. It's like, you know, we enabled this sort of eatery, this sort of European style eatery. So all the restaurants on the embankment could then open out and got all these fantastic sort of eating opportunities outside, which have rolled into next year and has been extremely popular. It looks amazing down there. So, you know, and there's businesses that have teamed up working together, sort of shops that were established that have expanded into shops next door and brought in smaller businesses, new sort of experiential things that have cropped up. I mean, this getting outside, I mean, that we've got so many of the marine businesses now that are sort of really growing and developing, you know, from your kayaking, from your trips out to photograph dolphins, you know, all these sort of elements. Getting outside is there. But it's like I've gone through calls with businesses to, oh my goodness me, I'm going to lose everything. That's the abbreviated version, to, you know, the next minute, all of a sudden it's this idea, that idea, and, you know, they're absolutely steamrolling and off. Interesting, the comments about staff. I mean, you know, yes, staffing is horrific at the moment for this industry. But again, working with some of the small business, like sort of restaurants, it's like with really strong teams. Because, you know, a lot of the people, they're stuck in the middle. They're having to manage and translate all the information that's coming out, you know, and dissect it and understand what their sort of the implications are. But they're also having to manage customers and visitors and guests, that same communication of information, and they're sort of caught in the middle, trying to keep staff going, trying to keep everything. So it's been really tough times, and they're trying really, you know, damn hard to make it all work for everybody. And it's just been phenomenal. It's really seen some strength and sort of come out. So yeah, great dynamic opportunities that have cropped out that I've seen.
Absolutely fantastic.
Just on that point, Laura, I mean, you're in quite a unique position, aren't you? Kind of in that sort of central role in terms of corralling and encouraging. And I know we've had a number of conversations in the past about that. But how does an organisation like Discover Dartmouth, in a pandemic, provide confidence to the town? I mean, you know, again, you know, Dartmouth is an iconic waterfront town, isn't it? You know, it's a destination for many people. And again, there will be an expectation of the types of businesses and that, you know, the type of experience you're likely to get when you go. So how do you, as an organisation, how do you give those businesses, or how have you given those businesses the confidence to, you know, invest, pivot, change, you know, put their eatery offer outside?
I think for me particularly, I mean, I come from a very strong operations background as opposed to purely sort of marketing. So I'm very operations, so I'm very focused on people and process. And a lot of what we've done with my sort of Discover Dartmouth hat on is really just sit and talk to businesses and really understand what's going on. You know, it's the phone rings, the emails go, it's like people know that you're there to come to. I was only talking with a restaurant this morning. It's like, right, we've got this wedding, it's the date's this, and this has changed that date. They sort of know where to come from. We're sort of establishing that information. I've set up a sort of chat group, so it's like all of the stuff that comes in, so our Visit England and our various reports that get filtered down, it's bewildering to people. We're a lot of sort of smaller independent businesses in Dartmouth, so the business strengths, it's a mixture. You know, you've got some that have got very, very strong, some that are very good at what they do, but maybe the business strengths need a little bit of support. So it's just really getting in, chatting to businesses. What do you need? How can we help? How can we support? So, you know, sharing information, working with training organizations. Let's help you get your social media sorted out. Let's help you get your website built. Okay, how's your structure? How's your health and safety? What's the risk assessment? Let's help you through. So it's really been completely off the cuff, as Laura said earlier on, and Scott mentioned now. It's like just reacting to what's going on and having, you know, I'm freelance. I've got an access to a really strong group of freelancers that I work with. So you can pull in all of that. But yeah, just getting in there, talking, listening, and what can we do to help? And that has changed. So I took on the Discover Dartmouth brand from January. So we've really changed the dynamics of that model to reflect that. It's becoming a lot more about the business support, because in Dartmouth it's easy to market because Dartmouth is stunning and everybody wants to come to Dartmouth. So that's the easy bit of our job. So we really want to help the businesses, strengthen the businesses, because that's at the core of it. If we've got these amazing, you know, strong businesses, independent businesses in our marketplace, etc., that, you know, people that are maybe one-man bands or one-woman bands, there's a lot of those, it's like they're the ones that are creating the experience because it comes from the heart. It's really passionate. That's what customers love. They come in, they like the people, they like the local, they like the stories. So how do we get them? You know, we've worked with them with a Good to Go scheme, with Visit England, all things like that. What do we need to do to help them be the best? Because that is our product.
Absolutely, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
No,
Lots of insight gathering there as well, isn't it? Lots of insight gathering to enable you to make those decisions. I'm sure the same, you know, with Scott, talking to customers, getting the feedback, you know, understanding what the visitors are feeling. You know, confidence levels, we know from research that we've been doing, have been changing markedly, and they do like to be local, and they do like the confidence and knowing what's expected of them when they go somewhere. So that's really interesting points that have been raised there. I'm very conscious of time. The hour is zooming past very rapidly, so I think we need to jump over to our next little video and hear from Robin Barker from he who runs a guru tourism man himself. He who runs the Southwest Tourism Awards and the beautiful South ones as well. He kindly gave me a little bit of his time the other day to chat about what he's hearing generally across the Southwest and over into the South as well. It'd be great to start with just understanding a little bit from your point of view and the conversations you have with people involved in the day-to-day running of tourism industries across the Southwest and South, how they're feeling at the moment. What's the general mood out there? Would be great to understand.
Tourism is one of those huge, wide, diverse businesses, and I've always annoyed media commentators in the past by refusing to give generalisms, because there are, as always, winners and losers, and whilst there are some out there who are amazingly bullish and confident, there are the opposite end, very many who are very worried and tired and, you know, concerned about the way things are going. And, you know, with some of the latest news about extensions to lockdowns and so on, there are certain sectors who they are going to really struggle to make ends meet over the months ahead. And I've been stunned. I've spent much of the last 3 weeks going around and actually visiting some of the award-winning businesses from the last year and having conversations with each and every one of them. And just when you think you're beginning to detect a trend, you get surprised. And, you know, I went and chatted to one hotel, which was actually a large hotel, a top award winner in Carlisle Bay. And I said, so, you know, you struggling with recruitment and so on? And he went, no, we're not, because we learned a lot during the last year, and we put in place some new systems, some new, more streamlined systems, and we gained deeper links with the local community and colleges and so on. And therefore, we actually are fine, and we've got, you know, all the employees really we need, and we're really looking forward to a bumper year. Now, that was one end of the story. At the other, I went to a pub where they said we're actually taking more people as customers than we ordinarily would, because we've taken over the barn next door. So we're having more demand, more customers, but we're having to serve them all with 3 people. That's 2 owners and 1 helper, because we literally cannot get the staff to cook or to clean. And you know, I looked at them and thought, they are going to be worn out fairly soon. They're going to have to be doing all the cleaning, all the service, all the chefing and so on. And you know, what will be the impacts on customers and service and customers coming back, which of course is so important to them? Will they be able to maintain their award-winning standards going forward? So it's very hard to forecast exactly how it's going to pan out. There are going to be winners and losers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a general sort of trend in terms of what's going to happen. Understanding the change is every month, there's every week at the moment. We don't know what's going to be occurring, but it sounds like, as you say, got the winners and losers there. It'd be great to understand a little bit as well, you know, in terms of those organisations who are in a very positive frame of mind and are set for that great summer. Are there particular things, areas that they've been focusing? You mentioned processes there. From your point of view, and obviously your wide experience across the industry, what are the key things then that our listeners to this particular event would pick up on in terms of the sort of things that you would suggest they focus on then for the summer and going forward?
Reassuring customers, absolutely critical there. Reassuring customers about cancellation policies, about payment options. If someone suddenly can't come, what would be the impact on their money? Still on safety and enhanced cleaning regimes in a positive way. I saw a website last year where someone had put a photo of a COVID virus on the homepage of their website. That was a little bit scary. That isn't needed, but reassuring people that all those safety measures are put in place, that everything is being kept amazingly clean, and absolutely critically that those staff, maybe those new staff who aren't as well trained as they might have been when there was a greater availability of staff, that all of those staff have been trained in delivering excellence. They ultimately are critical, because at the end of this, we want to have had some really happy visitors who've had an amazing time on holiday. We don't want them going back saying they were let down, they had bad service, bad food, or dirty venues or whatever. What is paramount is that those standards don't slip. And, you know, we need to be, you know, sharing a management of expectations with our visitors. If we think maybe we're not going to be quite as quick at service as we usually would be, we need to say that. We need to be bold and say, you know, we are doing our best in very difficult times. We've had to learn completely new regimes. Our serving staff are having to go anti-clockwise around the venue when they used to go shortest possible route. Those are things that not every customer needs or would understand, and just being open and honest about it is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I think, yes, it's the key thing. It's the coming in from the outside. You don't necessarily know what's going on. So communication, absolutely critical in terms of that. An interesting one in terms of people are being, I say forced, it's not being forced to go on holiday in the UK, because it's an absolutely gorgeous place to go on holiday. And of course, the Southwest anywhere, more than anywhere else, biased, of course. But what's going to keep, you know, people coming back to the Southwest? What are the key things? So next year, when things have changed and there is a choice, is it still those simple, I mean, those things you've been speaking about are really important. Is there anything else, you know, if we think about into next year, is there anything else that's going to be changing that they need to be thinking about in terms of processes or their overall marketing? How is that going to change from your point of view, if at all?
It needs to. And to be honest, it's an opportunity and a threat. Many businesses are seeing people who have never holidayed in this part of the world before. So there's an opportunity there by delivering them a fantastic experience that we can maybe encourage whole new generations to be holidaying here year in, year out. It's also a worry that if, because everyone is working at capacity, and maybe people are arriving who really don't want to be here. They want to be in Benidorm, and they kind of begrudge it. And they you know, they're arriving angry, and they're feeling begrudged, and they are probably some of the hardest ones to keep really satisfied. We have to all be working consistently hard to make sure they go back saying, well, of course, I had to go there and it was awful, but you know, I went there and it was delightful, and I'm going to carry on going back, and I'm going to take my children and I'm going to recommend it. So important, and that has a big impact on future marketing messages, everything we do. We've got to keep positive and keep looking after those customers.
Fantastic. It's a great piece of insight. Thank you very much, Robin. As everybody will probably see with your backdrop there, you also are involved in some of the awards going on there across the Southwest as well. Is there still opportunity to get involved? What's that looking like for you at the moment?
Absolutely. The awards stay open longer than we normally would because we need businesses to have opened and had customers before they hit that submit button. So they're open for entry until the end of August. But we do encourage early entries because you never know, it may end up being a bit of a rush then. There's a bank holiday coming along and who knows, we may end up all being able to travel wherever we want to by then. So get the entry started now. We've already got 150 underway. They're trickling in, but start now. The benefits are just so huge. And we've just, partly as a result of going and visiting these businesses, we've just posted lots of new video clips from awards entrants on the websites. So if you don't want to listen to me, go and listen to them, hear what they say. And they tell so many fabulous stories about the impacts of being an awards entrant.
Great. And what's the website, just as a top line?
There are lots of them. So, okay. But if you go to, in the Southwest, southwesttourismawards.org.uk, yep. Or in the Southeast, and that includes Hampshire, beautiful southawards.co.uk, you'll find yourselves to where you want to get to.
Fantastic. That's great. Robin, thank you very much. Great to speak to you.
Well, some great tips there from Robin from a Southwest Tourism and a beautiful South Tourism perspective. It'd be great again to open this up to Laura and Scott as well as you, Rich. But you know, I think the key things there that Robin talks about, and I couldn't get away from it. I kept coming back to it when I was looking at the video before we went live today. But you know, he really sees this, doesn't he, as an opportunity for us to create a bigger, a better, greater Southwest brand. That when customers are thinking and guests are thinking about going on their holidays in the future, that we provide such a great experience down here that they just want to come back, and going abroad is less of a pull. And the other thing that I thought, on top of him talking about showcasing the region, the other thing I thought that was really evident in what he said was when he was talking about, you know, business owners having to work really, really hard, and this issue around getting staffing and, you know, keeping well-trained staff looked after. And that's been a theme, hasn't it? You know, Laura talked about that. Scott, you alluded to it. Laura alluded to it when she was talking about some of the businesses in Dartmouth. So, yeah, really, really interesting piece, I thought, in terms of how he views it from an awards perspective. Because I think the people that win these awards this year, my God, they'll have gone the extra mile to deliver, won't they? For sure. So, yeah, I mean, let's open up the conversation on that. What do you guys think about what Robin said?
I think the part that I found most interesting, and I guess I'm probably going to come at it with a controversial approach, was when he was speaking about being open and honest to the customers or the guests about what they're having to go through, to try and let the customer and guests know what's actually been happening. I think what we found at Longleat, probably more specifically, and I guess maybe for slightly bigger leisure parts of the UK, is you know, we were very open and honest with our guests from the start. And I think because of the amount of money that the guests are spending for, say, a family ticket to come in, I won't say the excuse, but the excuse kind of wore off quite fast. So the guests are coming to us with this expectation that they're still going to have a fantastic day. And I guess that kind of comes back to where I originally mentioned of, we learned every single day and adapted for the next day. So where a guest would directly give us some feedback, say on a Monday, and we felt that we can make a change ready for the Tuesday, you know, we did do that, because we have annual pass holders, we have lots of them, and we're quite lucky this year that we've got a lot more coming on board as well. And you know, we've had, lucky enough, their voice to be able to help us with this. You know, they've seen us at our best at times and not so great times last year and stuff. So yeah, we found that, you know, we were quite open and honest in some of our email replies to guests raising some feedback and stuff. And yeah, I think over the first couple of weeks that was taken on board, and then after that it wasn't really listened to. And I think that expectation of what the guests, after they've paid that money that they've, you know, saved up for potentially a long period of time for a family ticket, you know, it pushed us even more to make sure that we were delivering these amazing experiences whilst the park isn't 100% operational, and bring in some different events, you know, book the events for the year ready, you know, that we can advertise it and scream and shout about these amazing things that we've got coming on board this year, to make sure that the guests really feel like they're getting that value for money.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting one, isn't it? You know, it's one of our blogs a few weeks ago was talking about exactly the same thing. Is the excuse wearing thin? And absolutely, when you're in it, it's not an excuse, is it? It's real. It really is very, very pressured. And I say the great thing about the pandemic, I don't know whether it's a great thing. We're all on that same sea, if you like. We're not necessarily in the same boat, but we are all on the same sea, the pandemic sea. So therefore we can all understand where the issues are, where the pressures are. And as great human beings, we can adapt and we can adjust. And I think that ability to do that is great. Across other sectors, there's great examples of sort of return emails coming through when you request something from various professional services sectors, a great diatribe of excuses about why your response is going to be a lot longer now, which is, yeah, you're right, it's wearing thin.
That's the thing, like how like, you know, as a business, you want to adapt ASAP. Like, you know, I've had, like you said, emails back from companies saying, well, our new SLA is X amount of weeks, whereas before it would be like days. And I'm like, is that acceptable anymore? Like, we've been in this for a long period of time now. And yes, people are still working from home and some are working in office, but as a business, you know, I don't think it's acceptable to keep using this reason now. You know, you've had time to adapt, as we say, adapt is the word. You know, and I think, well, that's my personal opinion anyway.
No, thank you. Laura, what was your view of Robin's comments?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's interesting. I mean, one of the things I picked up is about, you know, the fact that we're dealing with people who necessarily don't want to be down here. It's not their first choice, but that is the opportunity for us to say, do you know what, you know, I mean, I've got, as one of my girls who used to work for me, she's holidaying down in Cornwall and putting up amazing pictures at this hotel spa. And she's normally in Italy because she's half Italian and it's her wedding anniversary. And you couldn't tell the difference. She could still be in Italy. These stunning photographs of these, you know, the sunshine and everything. I mean, we've been blessed with the weather. But I think one thing I've observed is it's about delivering that, the expectations, managing. But there's also quite a huge emotional shift to the expectation of the customer now. You know, I'm a grandma. It's like, what it's like to me is about the family connections, and I would sort of anticipate with somewhere like sort of Longleat and some of our sort of bigger businesses, those experiential things, it's a day out, it's gathering all those family together, because you might not have seen them for, you know, you haven't hugged the baby, you haven't seen your son, you haven't, you know, done this, that. So there's a huge emotional weight on it. And that can make the expectations go up anyway, irrespective of everything else that the poor business provider is trying to sort of deal with. You know, whether it's a group, a party, or some sort of experience coming into a restaurant, again, there is a huge emotional tie. And sometimes that doesn't always, you know, sit well with people's rationality when they're dealing with something. So it does make things, you know, tougher. But the repercussions from when you get it right and you can deliver it and you can react and find out something to do today and then you do it tomorrow, that you make that experience and you blow them away, you've got a client for life. This really is a huge opportunity to step up that customer service, really get it right. And again, it just comes back, you know, like we're listening to our businesses, listening to customers, reacting and just really getting on it. But, you know, we've got a chance to make these people who don't know our area, that never normally come here, it's like, do you know what you're missing? And then we get into all the visitor economy and the strength and everything. So yeah, it's a good opportunity right now.
It's a great comment. I really like your point, Laura, around the ability of the South and the Southwest to create memories for people that haven't seen each other for a long time. You know, we really forget that. We forget that, you know, for many families, the last 18 months has been nothing short of you know, a horrific time for them. They may have lost loved ones, you know, their businesses may have gone bust. They may have had a really, and some of them will have had a really tough time. So, you know, the ability to be able to give them something back, I think is hugely powerful. Guys, thanks for that. I think we've had some great top tips. I'm going to come back to everyone in a second for a tip for businesses going forward. We're recording this in mid-June, so we've got most of the season to go. So a great top tip from each of you would be fantastic. But the one I'm going to kick off with is from Laura, and that word adapt. You know, be adaptable, be able to you know, the example she gave us of setting up an online shop in 3 days, I think is nothing short of a miracle, but it doesn't surprise me because those guys at Lifton work incredibly hard, as I mentioned. My top tip, and it'll be a no surprise to Rich or viewers of our regular podcast, will be find a great cider to enjoy when you're enjoying our wonderful visitors and visits to the Southwest. And I've got a little top tip today. This one's called Venton's Devon cider. It's a cider that arrived as a gift earlier in the week, and I've partaken. It's very good. So a huge well done to Mark and Sharon Venton and Venton cider in Clumpton. So yeah, find a good beverage to enjoy on your trip to the sunny Southwest. All the other lovely things. If you're in Devon, you'll take your cream tea the right way, which of course cream.
Let's not get into that conversation. We can't be causing war and strife across.
Sorry, yeah, it's important. Anyway, I'm going to move on now very quickly to Scott for his top tip.
I think mine's probably one of the oldest ones in the book, and is just put yourself in the guest's shoes. You know, you can't. There's nothing more that you can say around that, really. You know, what are their expectations? You're a guest somewhere else, if it's a restaurant or a day out at a beach or something. You know, so as a company, as managers, directors, anything, just put your guests and put yourself in those guest shoes.
Fantastic. Thanks, Scott. Brilliant. Laura?
My top tip, I think, which is probably hopefully a sustainable one, is you're not on your own. Look for support, collaborate, and listen to everybody else's top tips. It's like, you know, we're all in this together right now. And at the end of the day, Southwest is known for that community spirit, for our friendliness, and we can do that. And you can work together. Even if you're in competition, you can work together, and you're not alone. Look for support.
Thanks, Laura. Rich, do you want to cover off what Robin said and one of your own? I know hopefully it'll be a cider related one, yours, I'm hoping.
No, because I'm a pillar of society, and I don't go down that sort of route, as you well know. What was I going to say? Yeah, so from Robin's point of view, I think that reassurance is really key, isn't it? You know, making sure that you're reassuring your visitors, your customers, making sure they're all happy with that side of things. So that'd be fantastic. And I think the other top tip is keep listening. We've got to keep listening to our customers, to our visitors, to our employees as well. So with that in mind, we also do have a little free gift for people who would like to, I'm just going to share my screen again, who would like to understand where they may be in terms of their customer readiness. We have a free customer readiness report, which is 12 questions, take 2 minutes to fill in. We'll be sending that out to people and also putting it onto the end of this video as well, so that you can go on there and find out whereabouts you are in that sort of customer readiness continuum. Gives you a bit of insight, and insight is key. That's my top tip there.
Brilliant, thanks, Rich. So, a bit of a background was there. Just want to say a huge thank you to Laura Mounce from Lifton, to Robin from the Southwest Tourism Excellent Awards. Thank you, Scott, for giving us your time today. Thank you, Laura, for being a brilliant impromptu guest and giving us some fantastic insight. It's been great to get the view of you know, certainly that sort of that broader relationship that you have across Dartmouth as well, which has been amazing. So all that remains for me to say is, guys, thanks for listening and watching. As always, please like, share, and comment on all our different mediums, and we'll be back with our normal R&R in the coming weeks. So look out for those podcasts as they come along.